Hi everyone! In this video, the tech we're talking about today is File Explorer. So we'll really try to take an in-depth look at what features are there, what certain locations are there, and of course how to access it. But we're really just going to poke around with it and play around with a few files and kind of see what's what. So on your Windows 10 computer, you're most likely going to see File Explorer down in your taskbar. It may be pinned there. If it isn't, it may be in your Start menu, which when you click your Start icon, it may be in the middle there listed underneath whatever other locations you have right above your settings and power button. But push come to shove, if you don't see it, you can search for it. If you have this search bar here, you can just type File Explorer, and it should show up as the Best Match app. And then from there, you can pin it down into your taskbar. So we're going to open it right on up. Now, yours may open up to the quick access location here, so I'll go there so you can see that. So let's look around. Now, usually when we look around, I like to start on the left-hand side of the screen and kind of work my way across and then kind of end in the middle. So we'll do that. On this left-hand side here, starting from like quick access all the way down to network, is called your navigation pane. So literally what this will do is help you navigate File Explorer. There are different locations listed that will take you to different parts of your computer. So for instance, if I clicked desktop, it will show me what's on my desktop right now without me having to minimize and go look at my desktop. There's also documents, downloads, music, pictures, any network drives you're connected to. Excuse me, allergies suck. So these, instead of maybe being network shares for you, may say like local disk drive, kind of like I have this C drive here. Or if you have a USB plugged in, that'll be another location that's listed here as well for you to access any files if you have like your flash drive plugged in. So that's your navigation pane. That will help you get to all of your different files and folders and let you organize them based on however you need them organized. Now in the upper left-hand corner, you do have a File tab. You might not use this as much. I know I never use it. Usually the only time I might go into it is it does have an option to change your folder and search options. And that just kind of lets you do little ticky-tacky things to customize File Explorer. I hardly ever go here. There's really no need because there's other ways to do what's listed there. So, moving on. When you open File Explorer, you do start in the Home tab, and that's kind of across the board Microsoft-wise. So, say for instance you have Microsoft Word, you'll automatically open up into the Home tab. Microsoft Excel, you'll start in the Home tab. And so those are some of the options that are apparent by default. So here we have a clipboard section, which is going to house your copy and paste option. So if you copy a file and you want to paste it somewhere else, and you're not quite as well versed with your keyboard shortcuts, you do have that copy and paste option listed there. Then you have your organize section, which is right here. This will let you move files, copy files, delete them, rename it. So things to help you get organized by renaming your files, making them look pretty, and moving them around. You can do 99% of this stuff with your mouse, but that is there listed if you like to see the icons instead of trusting your mouse. There's a new section here. It'll just let you create a new item, so be that a new type of document, a new PowerPoint, a new folder, which is what's listed here. You'll have options to do that here as well. You can do those things by right-clicking within File Explorer. It'll let you create a new item from there too. Then there's the open option, and you may have noticed as I've gone through here, a lot of these are grayed out. That's just because I haven't selected something for them to need to be highlighted. So if I go to my documents and I select my world's best lasagna recipe file, you'll notice now a lot of the things are lit up because I've selected something that can be now manipulated. So if I wanted to delete this or rename it or move it somewhere or copy it, I now have the options to do that. It'll also give me in this open section a properties option to let me go look in the menus for that. So if I click on that, it'll be the properties for that file specifically. And properties are just as you see here, kind of what type of file it is, where it is, how large it is, and some of those little details of when it was created and when was the last time I was in it. There's also security, previous versions if that's listed there. Properties is just kind of as it sounds, it's just the details for that specific file. Now you also have a select option here. I will be honest, I had never used this because I just click on the things that I want. So there's really no need for me to do this. But it could be, hey, I don't know the keyboard shortcut to select all things. It'll tell me here in a little tooltip when I hover over that option. But if I want to click to select everything, hey, it's right there. I can do that. If I want to invert my selection, which the inversion of select all is to select none, there's that option too. So for example, if you want to invert just means it'll select everything opposite of what you've selected, like that. So that's kind of fancy. I've never used that. But if you want to use it now that you know what it is, definitely go for it. Now we also have a share tab here. This will just let you send your files somewhere else, be it to someone's email, if you want to print them, or there's a fax option here. I'm not connected to a fax machine, but that's there too as well. And then who you can share with. This could be if you want specific people to be able to see a certain file, you can select them from there. And then any advanced security options. If you want to see what these do, you just click on them and it'll take you where you need to go. So this will just show who has access to my folders, which of course would be my IT department and my boss. There's that. Now, in the View tab, this will probably be your best friend if you want your files and your folders to look a certain way, and if there's certain information you want to see, if you want them grouped, or if you want there to be like checkboxes for when you do something. So you do have a panes section. And so what this will do is it'll let you either turn off or on certain viewing panes. You'll see there's one for the navigation pane, which means you can have it expand, show all folders. You can even turn it off like that if you like getting to your locations manually somehow. I don't really play with that. I like the navigation pane, but that's just me. Then there's the preview pane. So what this will do is when I click on a file, it'll open a pane on the right hand side. You might see like this little line here that you can resize that will show you the contents of that particular document or picture. So you'll see here, I'm going to move myself over so you can see this. I chose a sausage, peppers, and onions recipe, and it'll show me the recipe from here. So that way I can look at it and preview it without having to completely open it. So that's the preview pane. There's also, if you go back up to the panes section in the ribbon, in the View tab, the details pane is kind of the same, but it's more of the inner details. So the same ones that if you looked at the properties for it, that's kind of what this is for. When it was made, who made it, if I want to add it to a category, when was the last time I opened it, who, where was it open, on like what device, so you'll see what computer, it was me. And then how long I was in that particular file doing any type of editing. There's all of that information too. So depending on how you want it to look and if you want that information there, it's really helpful if you are in a certain view, which means your icons for your files are in a smaller view and you want to kind of see a preview. I like using the preview for that. So for instance, moving on to the layout section, if you are in a different layout, sometimes that preview and details pane is kind of helpful. So looking at the layouts, you have extra large, which when I was in high school, this was like my best friend. I have no idea why I wanted everything so large. I was like, oh, I must not have had a lot of files. And so I was just like, let's make them take over everything. And I had a lot of pictures, so that's probably why. There's small icons if you like the opposite. Tiles, which could be just a tile formation. Everything's still in a certain order. Now this just changes how they're displayed to you. So depending on which one is visually appealing to you, you could choose that. There's medium and then there's details. So then if you choose like the details view, for instance, you'll get the name of the folder file, the date it was modified, the type. You can change which categories appear here by just right-clicking on one of them. So if you want the date created or the author or anything else, you can change those. When you're in the certain views, they give you the different tabs across the top, or filters, or organizers, because you can reorganize these things. So that's the layout tab. So if I wanted to turn my preview pane on while I'm in the details layout, I can select and still see things from here, but not have like pretty large icons that could take up a good chunk of my screen. Now, next to your layout view, you have what's called the current view, which will give you different options for playing with the view that you're currently in. So depending on which one you choose in the layout section, you have a sort by, group by, add columns, and then size all columns to fit. Now the add columns are the different sections I was telling you about just a second ago, which will kind of change depending on which layout you choose. So if you choose add columns, it'll give you like a checklist that you can choose. So if you don't necessarily, for instance, care about the size of your folder or your document, you can take that column away. If you do want the author of whoever wrote it, you can do that too. It just kind of depends on which information is pertinent to you that you add here. I usually don't necessarily play around with the columns, because 9 times out of 10 I'm only looking at the name and the date. But I like having the other ones there to make it feel more full, like there's more stuff there. So most of the time you can just kind of play around with it. Group by will let you add different groups. So if you need to group by size, it'll break them up for you depending on what layout you're in. So smaller files, looks like it'll put them at the bottom. Small files that are within a certain size range, and then unspecified, because it doesn't know. I believe most of these may be empty, which is probably why it's specified that way, but I don't know. There's also a sort by, where you can do date created. You could probably take and make it ascending, so it'll leave the group by there and then let you sort within the group that way as well. So let me do name, so that's usually a little bit easier. So they're grouped by size and then sorted by name. So you can get as complicated as you need to, or you can just leave it to where everything's just there and you want it sorted by name. So you can take those different filters off. So I can say I don't want them grouped anymore by going back to the group by, and then of course you have to have them sorted some way. I usually choose name and leave it that way. You can click on these different columns as well to sort. So this was reverse alphabetical. I can sort by date modified, so early is at the top, old is at the bottom. And I can also sort by type, and it'll sort by type alphabetically. So you can do all of that. And as far as I remember, it'll leave it in the sorted style when you close it, when you open it back up that way. So if you want to open it to have it sorted by type alphabetically, and you close it and leave it that way, it may open that way as well. Not 100%, because I usually don't change those things. Okay, to the right of current view is the show hide section. This is kind of extra information that you may not want to see. So for instance, I already know the type of file I have over here in the type column. So turning on the file name extensions, which will tell me what type of file it is at the end of the name of the document, is not necessarily important to me. So I choose to uncheck that to hide that information. There's the item checkboxes, which is kind of helpful if you have a little bit of trouble selecting specific things based on what layout you're in. It'll put this little white checkbox to the left of your document or your folder. So that way you can select them a little bit easier, or you can ensure that you definitely have the ones selected that you want. There's that option as well in the show hide section. And then lastly, there's the options option in the view tab. This will let you change folders and options, search options. And I believe it's the same one that's in the file tab. Yeah, it's the exact same one. So you can either get there through file and then change options, or options in the view tab. Kind of depending on which one's readily available to you. You can choose that one. So this will let you kind of change how File Explorer displays things, how the search works. So if you want your File Explorer to open up to quick access, which we'll talk about in just a second, or open to this PC, which we'll get to as well, you can choose one of those. If you want each folder to open in its own window, you can toggle that on. That would be really helpful in a situation where you're moving files back and forth and you kind of want to definitely make sure that they're there. Here's if you have some issues clicking. If double click is kind of hard for you when you're opening your folders or your items, you can do a single click and it'll kind of change that. Then you would underline icons, titles consistent with your browser, underline icon titles only when I point at them. You can turn that on as well. Then there's show recent files in the quick access, whether or not you want to see what you've opened recently. You can turn that on or turn that off. Then there's view, so you can kind of play around with these different options, see what they do. And then if you don't like them, just go back into this dialog box and uncheck it and apply it again. So that way it works for you. You do have this restore defaults button here. If you changed a lot of stuff and you kind of want to just put it all back at 0, you can do the restore defaults and it'll do that as well. So this entire toolbar that runs across the top, regardless of what tab you're in, is called your ribbon. It's also called that when you open up Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, anywhere where all of your options and tools are located. It's called your ribbon. Now, directly below your ribbon, you do have some options here. There are navigation arrows here, so that way you can go back a folder, forward to where you were, look at your recent locations, so where have you been, go up a parent folder. That'll kind of depend on where you are, what the parent folder is for that particular folder. And so the parent folder is just where that particular folder is originally. So the parent for my documents is this PC. I might definitely be explaining the hierarchy completely wrong, but that's just kind of how it works. all of your folders will start in one location and then branch off into folders from there. So for instance, everything for me is located in this PC. So if I open Documents, Documents is the child of this PC. And within Documents, I have a Downloads folder, for instance, whose parent is Documents. So like subfolders and all that nonsense. And so speaking of which, it'll go up, back to that parent, back to that next parent, and then probably back again. It'll just take you to whatever the parent of that is. Oh, just desktop. Kind of cool. You probably won't ever use those. I, 9 times out of 10, just click the locations I need. I never use these navigation arrows. So it's really going to be your preference. It's just something that I don't use doesn't mean that you can't use it. So this bar here, let me keep going into things so you can see stuff. Here is called the address bar. Now this is kind of like your pathway. So this is saying you're within this PC, and in this PC is the Documents folder. And when you got to Documents, you opened the Recipe folder. It will not show you files in this particular address bar. It'll show you which folders you've opened and how you got to them. So you can click on these different locations to go back. If you need to go back to Documents, you can click the Documents and it'll take you back a folder, which is what I tend to do instead of using the navigation arrows. If I need to go back one more, I click the location that's to the left of where I am now. So let's go back and do that again. I'm in this PC. I can click Documents here or click it here. It'll take me to the exact same place. So if I go to Documents and then I go to Recipes, that's where I am. I don't have anything in here, but if I added a new folder and named it Sunday Night Recipes for Football Sunday, if you're making something special, and then if I open that to now add recipes to it, you'll see it's now listed in the address bar. But if I needed to go all the way back, I can go right back to Documents just by clicking on it in the address bar. So that's what that does. So I use the address bar as a navigation bar, if that makes any sense, because those breadcrumbs are really easy to click on. To the right of that is your search feature here, where you can search the folder or file you're looking for. When you start your search, it will open up another tab at the top to let you do an advanced search or change your searching parameters to make them more narrow or more broad. So it really depends on what you're searching for. So that's what that is. Let me turn this preview pane off. There we go. Now this area here, I like to kind of call it a workspace, but it is a file viewer. It'll just show you the contents of whatever folder you're in, and then it'll let you access whatever's within that particular view. Anything from here will then open up from there. So that's what that is. I just let you view what the contents are. So that's really the basic tour of File Explorer. You, of course, still have your window managers in the upper right-hand corner. So if you need to minimize File Explorer, restore down the window, or maximize the window, you can do that. And then you can also close it by clicking on the bright red X up in the upper right-hand corner. So that's what that is. Now, let's talk a little bit more about your navigation pane. We'll start in quick access because I told you I'd talk about it. And for once, I did not forget something. Look at that. So here in quick access, you have quick access to file folders and files that you have been using frequently. So some of this may change depending on what you've been working on, but it's not the only place to locate your files and folders. So you'll see frequent folders I have. Up here are ones that I've been using frequently. And you'll notice some of these have like a little push pin. next to them. This just means that they're there all the time. So they've been pinned there to get you quickly. So I can unpin these so that way it's more accurate to what I've been using by just right clicking on them. Oh, let me click on one that's out of my face. So when I right click on a particular folder, I can unpin it from quick access, which means it's gone, but if I had been using it frequently and didn't need it there all the time, it'll appear back there if I open that one pretty often. If I don't want documents there, I can right click and unpin and do that as well. And you may also notice that when I right click on some of these, I have a lot more options here. I can pin some of these to my start menu if I want to do that. And that's if I'm like in that folder every day, or I'm tired of having to go through all of my files and folders to get to it. You can pin something to the start menu. So when you pin the start, what it'll do is we'll go to our start menu and it'll put a tile of that specific folder on your actual start menu. And to undo that, you can go back to the folder if you want to do that. You can also go unpin it from the start menu, but I'll unpin from start and unpin from quick access. Now the ones without pins are the ones that are actually frequent, like I've been in that a couple times. So that way, that's a little bit more of an accurate representation of what I've actually been working in. Now, recent files, I believe it keeps up to 20 files listed here, maybe a little bit more, will actually be the recent files that you've actually been in and out of. Yeah, I don't have any idea really how many times you have to be in these files for them to show up here. I'm assuming once, because some of these I only opened one time. So, the last thing we will talk about is in your navigation pane. So, the navigation pane, if we remember, is on the left-hand side of File Explorer. And you'll notice now, when I hover over that area, these little carrots show up, or these little arrows. These indicate that there is a drop-down option. So you can expand these locations to see the folders that are available to you within that main folder. So for instance, in my music folder, so when I hover my mouse over music, I have a drop-down caret. If I click right on that, it'll expand that folder to show me the folders within it. So you'll see there's my camera roll, this one, iTunes, a new folder, and other folders in here. And then you'll notice some of those folders also have their own drop down as well, meaning that there's a folder inside that folder. So if I expand even further, it'll keep going, and I can just keep clicking the carets to expand it. Now it will not show you files in this navigation pane when you expand the folder hierarchy. You'll only see folders. So this will be helpful if you need to get to something specific pretty quickly. You can click the drop down and then go ahead and pick what you want from there, if you want to do it that way. And then to collapse all of these again, if you don't need to see them, you just click the caret, usually the main one, to go ahead and collapse all of those folders. So we'll click the caret. You'll see it's still open. I can click the caret to close that group, and it'll turn from down to sideways. However, it's pointing to show you whether it's expanded or closed. Now the ones without carets mean that there's no other folders within that folder. So this expanding option is really good if you're moving certain things around and you need to click and drag files over into different folders. So for instance, let's go into, that one's empty. So let's figure out what to move into it. So if I want to move this quick notes file into a saved pictures, the new folder within saved pictures, you might not be doing it that way, but it's just an example. I can click and hold on the file I need, drag it down. You'll see like a little ghost of it trailing with you. And I can actually come over here to my navigation pane, to that expanded folder, and I'll see move to new folder, showing it'll move that file from my notebook folder into my new folder. And then I let go. And you'll see it disappears from the My Notebook. So if I click on new folder, I'll see that file sitting in there. So this is a way you can kind of do that so you can see exactly where those files are going when you drag them. Expanding makes that a little bit easier instead of you having to go open multiple instances of File Explorer so you can drag between the windows. You can drag to the navigation pane to move files around. So that's an option as well. So here's what we talked about today. We started from the very beginning. We took a tour of File Explorer. We went through quick access and looked at the frequent folders and recent folders. We also played around in this PC and accessed the different folders there. We talked about, let's keep going and going. We talked about the breadcrumb in the address bar and how you can move back folders to go back to where you were before. We talked about the search. We talked about this navigation pane. We pretty much went through every little nook and cranny of File Explorer. So if you have any other questions about File Explorer, please throw them in the comments and I will be happy to answer them. But that's all I've got for you today. Goodbye. If you enjoyed what we talked about in today's video and you want to learn a little bit more, please utilize our online resources through Mid-Continent Public Library. So you can visit Who Knew It, Universal Class, Blenda.com, and many more to learn a lot more about the topics we talked about here and any other technology topics that you're interested in. Also, thanks for watching. If you would like more videos, please find us on Facebook at MCPL 360. We're there every Wednesday and Friday, and also we're going to start doing Tuesdays at 1 p.m. to share more tech topics with you. And anything you may miss on Facebook, please visit our YouTube channel at MCPL Mo, where you can watch any of our consumer technology videos as many times as you want. So, here's to next time. Have a good day.